एक्टिंग कर लेता हूँ जरा. Hi, I'm Bharatbala. I just wanted to share about a particular story, how it evolved and where it traveled. With me, I have a book, A Poem a Day by Gulzar. 365 poems in 34 languages and has 279 poets. And the first poem is by Haldhar Nag, and it's a letter to Haldhar Nag. It's almost like a biographical where he's written a poetry to himself. I'm going to read few lines of it. Here's a letter to you, O Haldhar. Evening light goes through the pains of labor. Creative poetry you should deliver. Here's a letter to you, O Haldhar. If you want to clean the society, first clean your own self. If you wish to pull someone higher, first climb a couple of steps. Seeing the attractions of the world, don't let greed put you to bother. Here's a letter to you, O Haldhar. The greatest of all creations, mankind, is now groping in the darkness. He is harassing others to no end for his own happiness. Dharma, karma, and shame renounced, he is heading to hell further. Here's a letter to you, O Haldhar. Consider sorrow as happiness, a blessing as mother's reproach. Where there is poison, there is also nectar. Passionately go in search. Take poison yourself, but distribute nectar. If needed, carry on your own head the river Ganga. Here's a letter to you, O Haldhar. So this is a poem written in Kosli language by an Adivasi poet called Haldhar Nag. Now let's see where my journey with Haldhar Nag began. So while I was preparing to find different stories for Virtual Bharat from all across India, I had read a small article in the newspaper about an Adivasi poet who from Sambalpur had got Padma Shri. Just reading that one small article and then researching and taking a look at that man, it drew me to him instinctively. It was so charismatic. Then finding him was itself a very big journey. He is in a very remote place in Sambalpur. How language was not connecting, location was to be discovered where he is. So one of my ADs traveled all the way to Odisha to meet with a professor in Kalinga University, and then through him we found Haldhar Nag. Now, how does one make a film? I just read a poem, Letters to Haldhar Nag. So he is an Adivasi poet. He has a body of work of his poetry, and what he does every day is like he writes poetry, he walks to villages around where he lives, meets people. From morning till evening he recites poetry.
समाज के कर समको निजर मधुर वचन कही समाज के कर समको निजर मधुर वचन कही.
The asset that he has is poetry, and when he addresses poor people and asks them to do good to society. It is so inspiring when people who are struggling to find their needs are waiting patiently to hear him to do good to their society. So when I came across this particular poem, Letters to Haldhar Nag, it suddenly became the theme for my film, because it kind of biographical. It depicted the soul, the key idea of that man. Then obviously, we went to his place and filmed him in his environment, his very humble, modest shack where he lived, and saw him in his reality. But what hit me is also the personality that he carried. वो बंदा ना जब खड़ा होता है लेंस भी तैयार हो जाता है. Just I want to particularly take one shot I will show you now. Just look at this shot where he walks towards the camera, and we've taken a long continuous shot of, and it slightly goes out focus at one point and finally it come back to focus. Take a look at that shot. When you see this shot, you see him that he walks tall. He shoulders something so important and deep, and he has pride in what he does, and he is walking bare feet. And for me, mainstream में like you have a shot of an entry of a star, superstar, एक entry shot आता है, लोग सीटी बजाते हैं. For me, it was much greater than that moment when I saw him walking with pride in his village. That city moment shot I got. So for me, it's all about taking everyday people and bringing them to cinematic glory and using their story to inspire people. वो भी अपना वही काम कर रहे हैं. Can I use my filmmaking tool to inspire some wider audience? But that story didn't end there. So we filmed with a beautiful tribal dance there. We got nice lights. It was edited well. And then, interestingly, after editing, I wanted the soundtrack. मैंने कहा हल्दर नाग का स्कोर ना हैंस जिमर जैसा होना चाहिए. That's what I told आशीष ज़कारिया कि यार उसमें एक इतना ग्रैंड स्कोर दे कि because it was very rustic, very brown, it had that texture. So if you look into the soundtrack, it's very interesting and it helps the editing in a very unique way. तो ठीक है, फिल्म बन गई. अभी I saw the film, I like it. Personally तो बंदा खुश था, but how do I take it to people? He's speaking some language which nobody knows. तो जितना भी subtitle डालो, you need to shoulder it interestingly. So here's where I went to Gulzar Saab. Obviously everybody adores Gulzar Saab, but one thing I'm very proud about it is that he adores me too. So when I went and met him, he lovingly said, Bharat, sit down, I will watch your film. So दिखाया उनको, बहुत अच्छा लगा. एक कवि दूसरे कवि की पिक्चर को सुनता है तो बहुत प्रसन्न हो जाते हैं, and he really admires poetry. So it was a very natural connect. तो उन्होंने कहा, so Bharat, what do you want me to do? मैंने कहा, गुलजार जी, now it's your responsibility to bring Haldhar Nag to the world. So he said, मैं कुछ सोचता हूँ. And the next day I got a call and said, Bharat, why don't I write a letter to Haldhar? तो उन्होंने शुरुआत की, हल्दार, मैं तुझे खत लिख रहा हूँ. And then he talked about, in 5 lines, describing this man who walks the earth and beautifully rendered the way his poetry leads into the opening line of the film. वो तो अभी आपको मैं वो 4 लाइन दिखाता हूँ, आप जरा देखिए वो कैसे कहते हैं.
वो कहता है, समंदर से निथारी माँ की छाती से बही अमृत की बूंद कवि की कलम पर उतरी है, मैं तुम्हें खत लिख रहा हूँ हालदार, मैं तुम्हें खत लिख रहा हूँ हालदार।
तो वो हमने शूट किया गुलजार जी के साथ, एंड सो इट बिकेम दैट गुलजार जी presented Haldhar to the world. Now, in this film, if you look at it, Gulzar ji doesn't come and take away everything. Gulzar ji doesn't interfere. He just presents this beautiful poet to the world. And obviously, we got a lot of beautiful response. That film did about, in a short time, it did about 2 million views on YouTube alone. And many celebrities, for example, another person, a literature person and a great writer, Shashi Tharoor, tweeted about him. And of course, Honorable Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik tweeted about him because he is the son of the soil and a beautiful film has been made. तो एक लोगों में एक मोमेंटम आ गई, पिक्चर आ गई, और वापस 2 महीने बाद मेरे को एक फ़ोन आया गुलजार जी से। तो उन्होंने कहा, भरत, मैं एक बुक बना रहा हूँ फॉर हार्पर कॉलिंस, 365 poems, a poem a day, and I want Haldhar's poetry to be the opening poem of the book. And his book carried the opening poem, A Letter to Haldhar. And now, connecting then Haldhar Nag with Gulzar Saab, and then get published, and then it got released in Jaipur Lit Festival. तो हम इस सोच में नहीं गए थे, but that's the surprise one expects when you do an idea like this, and it naturally happened. So I'm hoping that we get more surprises like this as we go along discovering each of the stories of Virtual Bharat. And just in case you haven't seen the film, please check out Haldhar Nag. उसके साथ हमें we went to, after making the film and after release, the book got published, then I found 2 poets, contemporary poets, one from Kashmir and one a Marathi poet from here, a male and a female, and I asked them to read the poetry of Haldhar and write a poem in their contemporary thinking as a tribute to Haldhar. Now you should watch that also.
जिंदगी के हूबहू आज तो कैद है, जिंदगी के हूबहू आज तो कैद है, हुई है देर सुबह को, हुई है देर सुबह को, रात मेरी आजकल बेकरार है.
अग मानल आई धर्म पाळलास, पण त्यात झाला किती तुझ्या स्वप्नांना त्रास. समाजाने केली वाट तू काय फक्त चालणार, तुझ्या हातावरच्या रेषा तूच लाटून मिटवून टाकणार. अग मानल.
So I'm now planning to next take this line and make a song out of it. So ये नहीं कि अच्छा एक फिल्म आ गया खत्म हो गया. I think it just it has life and it can keep coming back with new ideas. So I think today I wanted to share with you about my journey with Haldhar Nag and how he inspired me and continues to inspire humanity. And I look forward to filming him more. I want to get to hear him more and do a little longer documentary. But today it's about how this film came about and what the journey of this film led to. So hope to catch up with another story in my next episode. Virtual Bharat channel में सब्सक्राइब कीजिए, both on Instagram and YouTube, because it is today, that is the digital currency. अगर लोग आके देखेंगे, हम किस लिए फिल्म बना रहे हैं? We want people to see, share, and this deeper wisdom of these people who have lived life needs to be shared. And that is the hope with which we can build a very responsible and a very creative community and society. बहुत ज्ञान नहीं दे रहा हूँ, बट आप पिक्चर अच्छी लगी तो सब्सक्राइब कीजिए. Hoping to see you once again soon. Thank you. Gulzar ji presented this book to me, and he writes. I'm going to read it out, what he has written to me. Bharat, my dear, you're a great inspiration for me. Thank you for many things. Gulzar, 9/12/2020. Gulzar ji has been an inspiration for sea of humanity over generations. अगर वो लिखते हैं कि भरत, you are a great inspiration for me, man, it's such an inspiration for me that I need to live up to this. It's an honor, and बस अभी कुछ करना है, and I have to live up to this. Thank you, Gulzar ji. You made my day.